Recently, the surge in corruption incidents in the Gambia has attracted a great deal of attention, and every other day and week we hear news stories.
Like we've seen in the recent case of the audit scandal, people using the state resources to their own disposal, which were supposed to be used for the public's interest, the country's interest.
We've seen the audit report, over $600 million unaccounted for. The kind of change and development that money can actually stand for in this country is a lot.
With the rising state of corruption in this country, if we should continue this trend, it is going to be absolutely very difficult for us to be able to meet the requirements in terms of our growth economically and socially.
It's leading to what we call administrative incapacity, where people that lack the necessary knowledge given the opportunity to lead those with the right knowledge to bring about the development that we really want in this country. And this happens through what we call nepotism, bribery, and so forth.
Against the government structure and its administration, it makes a government fall.
The corruption that we're facing in the country is in all sectors. We're facing corruption in our education system, in the health sector, even in the security sector, which is very, very evident.
A quick example I can give that will cost life is corruption in the immigration system, or corruption at the police unit, where people who are not qualified to drive are going into driving and then causing accidents on the street. You will see people who have only trained for 2 weeks or less than a month who will get a license to run on our roads. These people will go on to kill other people in road accidents, or better still cause injuries that will cost people their entire life.
The root cause of all the problems we are facing in this country is because of corruption. The reason why our poor mothers, our poor fathers are suffering in the rural Gambia. There's not enough electricity supply in this country. There's not enough water supply in this country. Rural Gambia's children or children don't even have water to drink. It's because of corruption.
Gambia as a country has been adversely affected by corruption, and when we look at the perpetrators, we come to realize that these are not perpetrated by, corruption is not perpetrated by any other persons but we as Gambians.
Corruption affects the most vulnerable people in society.
While its effects are dangerous and widespread, it is a threat to our national security, an enabler of crime, and can seriously drag our economic growth, denying citizens the right to live dignified and decent lives.
While the mass Gambians, the innocent Gambians, the taxpayers, the women who suffered in the garden, the women selling in the market, the people who are on the hustle every day selling and paying this tax to the government have been subjected to abject poverty.
And corruption is very bad for any nation that wishes to progress or wishes to have sustainable development would be able to adopt anti-corruption bill.
Corruption is something that everyone is living with, and it seems as a norm in our society, because there is no actual bill that would hold people accountable when they do corrupt things.
The problems at our health sector, our education. So for us to have good roads, all these need money, it needs finances. And the state at which our resources are being plundered by the few would not support our cause on this.
So until we do away with corruption, there's not going to be work with integrity, work with honesty.
It's also my desire to say that the abuse of state resources by public officials is a thing of the past.
State resources cannot be used to fulfill personal gains. These are resources that should be used for people and for the sustainable development of every other citizen in the Gambia.
I believe we have to fight against corruption, and it's not just in those who are taking, but those who are giving as well. Because I believe whether you take or you give, or you are just complicit sitting there not doing anything about it, you're responsible.
Corruption is a very big headache, and there is no dimension of development that can progress if corruption is not addressed. It is deadlier than even the coronavirus that we talk about. A lot of people, including Gambians, die and suffer as a result of corrupt practices that happen in our public and private offices.
Looking at the Gambia, you will see a lot of things that happen if we have laws that are set aside. All of those things will drastically reduce because there are penalties that will be available for anybody who does a particular corruption act. That will obviously reduce the high number of corruptions that are happening on a daily basis into offices, government, private, and all other departments that you were saying.
There is an anti-corruption bill. State embezzlement, fraud, mismanagement of state resources would be reduced, thus providing equal opportunity and reducing the inequality rate of people in the country. And I think every National Assembly member should support the bill and make the bill to become a law in this country.
It is our conviction that if it becomes law, the authorities who are responsible for public finances will become much more cautious, and those finances will be judiciously expended for the benefit of the people of this country.
Having an anti-corruption bill, it's not just a need, it is a necessity for any country that wants to develop. So this is because having this bill will ensure that people are given the equal opportunities they need.
Fighting corruption is not a one-man's job. So I call on Honorable Fat Jam, Honorable Member for Sandimantan constituency, as well as all other parliamentary members to support the bill.
And I believe our biggest weapon against corruption in this country is the anti-corruption bill. It is the most fundamental weapon we have to make sure the people who are complicit, who are perpetrators, are held accountable by the law. So my message to the National Assembly members of this country is that you are put in the place by the people. You are representatives of the people. Your voices, your votes, your decisions and indecisions should be in the interest of those people. And it is fundamentally, without an iota of doubt, in the interest of the people for the anti-corruption bill to pass. So whatever you do, cast your vote in favor of the anti-corruption bill.
This is why the anti-corruption bill has to be passed. And we're urging every parliamentarian out there to ensure that this bill is passed, because when it is passed, it will ensure that people are aware that these actions are corruption and it would retard the development of the nation. So if parliamentarians out there can pass this anti-corruption bill, it will also help their constituencies and then the national development as a whole. It will ensure that we have good roads. It will ensure that we have all the promises that you've given the people. All these promises are good promises. But where there is corruption, these things cannot come to pass, because when the good thing is about to happen, the corruption would return it. And it will ensure we will have a very slim development, something that we would not be proud of. And as a nation, if we can all come together and support the anti-corruption bill, then we're all ready for a developed country.
Anti-corruption bill will not only help us hold the executive accountable, but it will help us hold every civil servant and public servant accountable for their actions in causing Gambians' life, but also plundering government taxpayers' money into waste or plundering into things that do not matter to them. If you pass this bill, you are not only going to safeguard the Gambia, but you are also going to help Gambia develop and move forward as a country that we all yearn to be, as a country that each and every one of you will want your children to exist, you will want your children to live, and you will want your children to prosper.
So this time we are putting our hope and trust in you to make sure that this bill is passed and finally becomes a law.
So I would encourage especially my MP for Joswang constituency to support the anti-corruption bill in Parliament.
Because if you do not accept the anti-corruption bill, it's actually giving gateway or even giving a free pass to the perpetrators, or telling them that you can do whatever you want, you can do whatever that is at the detriment of the Gambian people without any accountability. However, if we adopt and pass this anti-corruption bill, they will understand that when they perpetrate things that are not actually good, or when they do things at the detriment of the Gambian people, they will be held accountable. So at this juncture, it's going to serve as a check to them.
I call on the 6th legislature to listen to the voices of the people they represent, to pass on the bill so we can fight corruption.
The National Assembly members, especially the National Assembly member of Jara West District, your role in this process is quite significant as a lawmaker. The people of Jara West District and the Gambia in general want to live a dignified and decent life, but this is not achievable when corruption is spreading its tentacles across the four corners of the country. Therefore, I encourage the National Assembly members to ensure that the anti-corruption bill is revived and passed. This, if achieved, we will have sustainable development in the Gambia, and your names will be in the good books of our beloved country.
I support the anti-corruption bill.
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 I hereby support the anti-corruption bill 100%, and I urge all of you to support it at 100%.
I, Usenu Gambia, strongly and firmly support the anti-corruption bill, and I call on every patriotic Gambian and every patriotic citizen, every national loving citizen to support the anti-corruption bill.